All right, let's talk about cannabis. It seems like it's everywhere these days, and the science is scrambling to figure it all out. So, what's it really doing to us? We're going to cut right through the noise and look at what three brand new studies tell us about cannabis and, our brains. And this is the million-dollar question, right? We're not just talking about the immediate high. We're asking something way deeper. Could long-term use actually, reshape the very way our brain is built and how it works? The latest science is finally starting to give us some clues. So let's dive in. Okay, so where do we even begin? Let's start with the basics, the brain's hardware, the actual physical wiring. Because, hey, if there's going to be a long-term effect, you'd think we could see it in the structure itself, right? Deep inside the brain, you've got this thing called the corpus callosum. The best way to think of it is as a giant fiber optic cable. It's the information superhighway that lets the left side of your brain talk to the right side. It is absolutely essential for everything from complex thoughts to basic motor skills. It's a big deal. So, some researchers recently decided to take a look at this superhighway. They took brain scans from 144 different people and sorted them into three groups: folks who'd never used cannabis, some who were low lifetime users, and a group with high lifetime use. The idea was simple. Does the highway look different depending on how much traffic it's seen? And what they found was, well, pretty fascinating. Take a look. In a key part of that brain highway, there was basically no real difference between people who never used and people who used it a little. But then you look at the high-use group, we're talking more than 100 times, and whoa, their corpus callosum was measurably smaller. This tells us something huge. It's not just if you use, but how much you use over a lifetime that seems to be the key factor here. Okay, so we're seeing a potential change to the brain's physical hardware in heavy users. But, and this is the big but, does that actually change how the machine runs? I mean, a smaller part of the brain sounds important, but what does it actually mean for performance, right? If the hardware is a little different, how does that affect the software, the brain's ability to actually process information and, do stuff? Well, luckily for us, another massive study gives us a piece of the puzzle. This time, researchers looked at over 1,000 adults. But they didn't just look at static pictures of their brains. They used fMRI to watch their brains in action while they were busy trying to solve cognitive puzzles. And the results were pretty clear. During tasks that use your working memory, you can think of that as your brain's temporary sticky note, the heavy users showed way less brain activation than the non-users. In those key areas, their brains just weren't lighting up as much to get the job done. Now, here is the absolute kicker, and it's right in this quote from the paper. The researchers wondered, hey, maybe this is just because some of these people were high during the test. So they took out anyone who had used recently, and the finding was exactly the same. That suggests this lower activation isn't just a temporary thing. It could be a real, long-term change linked to heavy use. So we have a potential change in structure and a potential change in function. But what's actually driving all this? To get that answer, we have to zoom in, way down to the two main chemical characters in this whole story, THC and CBD. It really boils down to this: a gas pedal and a brake pedal. Neuroimaging studies have shown that THC, that's the part that gets you high, acts like a gas pedal. It revs up brain connectivity and cranks up blood flow. But then you've got CBD, which acts like a brake. It doesn't get you high, and it actually decreases brain connectivity. So you've got these two chemicals in the same plant doing basically the opposite jobs. So what happens when you hit the gas and the brake at the same time? Well, the study found that when they were given together, you didn't get that full throttle effect of THC alone. The effects were much more moderate. This suggests that CBD is like a balancing force, kind of reining in THC's impact. And all of a sudden, the ratio of these two chemicals becomes incredibly important. Okay, we've looked at the hardware, the software, and the chemicals doing the work. Now let's just take a step back and pull all three of these threads together to see the big picture this science is starting to paint. So, when you put it all together, what have we learned? First, the dose makes a huge difference. These changes we saw were consistently tied to heavy, long-term use, not casual use. Second, the chemical cocktail inside the plant is critical. You've got THC acting as the gas, but then you've got CBD acting as the brake, helping to moderate things. And all of this really points to one vital conclusion. This is not a simple good or bad story. The reality is, well, it's a lot more complicated than that. And that leaves us with this final, really important question. As products get more and more potent with higher THC and different levels of CBD, this science is giving us a much clearer picture of what the stakes are, especially with heavy use. The real challenge for all of us now is figuring out how we use this new knowledge to inform our choices, our health, and our policies. It's a huge conversation that really is only just getting started.